Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel ForexPnL. Today is Saturday the 3rd of June 2023 and it's time for me to do the weekend Forex forecast for this upcoming week. And as usual guys, we're going to be kicking things off by taking a look at the economical calendar, and then thereafter we're going to look at the charts to see the technical analysis for some pairs that are giving us some structural levels to keep an eye on as we go into next week. So without any further delays guys, let's go into the charts. Actually, let's go into the economical calendar. All right, so this is what we have for next week. As you can see here, I have filtered for the high impact news and also any bank holidays that we have for next week. And on Sunday, you will see that we do have OPEC meetings. Okay, so this is probably the reason why we saw Canadian dollar strengthen across the board on Friday. And well, let's see, the outcome of this meeting is probably will most likely impact the Canadian dollar going into next week. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Now on Sunday as well, we also have bank holidays in New Zealand. Okay, we also have bank holidays in New Zealand. And well, on Monday we do have the CPI data. Okay, high impact coming out from the from Switzerland. Okay, so keep an eye on that if you're trading the Swiss francs. And well, also on Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, we do have the ISM Services PMI data coming from the United States axis. Now Tuesday is the big day for the Australian dollar. As you can see here, everything will have is coming out from the Australian axis. Okay, and that's the interest rate decisions. Okay, very high impact news. The Governor, Bank of Australia governor speaking, and also GDP coming out on Tuesday. Okay, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So it's going to be a very interesting day for the Australian dollar. So keep an eye on this particular day if you're going to be trading the Australian dollar. Personally, I might be sitting this one out. Okay, because I wouldn't like to be exposed, overly exposed to a currency that has this much high impact news coming out on a particular day. All right, so that's it for Tuesday. Now on Wednesday we do have Canadian dollar interest rate decisions. Okay, we're expecting the numbers to stay the same, just as we're expecting the numbers from Australia to stay the same as well. So well, this is interesting. Let's see how it turns out. Now on Thursday we do have the unemployment claims coming out from the United States axis. Okay, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then on Friday, we do have the employment and unemployment data coming out from the Canadian axis, okay, on Friday. So, well, quite an interesting week. We do have enough fundamentals on the calendar to create some significant movements on our charts. But again, I think, it's a tradable week, okay? All right, so without any further delays, guys, with this out of the way, let's now go take a look at the charts and see what we have from a technical perspective, okay? All right, so now we're taking a look. As usual, we're going to be kicking things off with DXY. As you can see here, this is DXY on the weekly time frame. And well, as anticipated, guys, I told you guys that chances are we might get a little bit of a pullback, okay? And well, you can see that we did get a pullback. I told you guys we've now had about 3 bullish weeks, and chances are maybe we might run out of steam a little bit. And but based on the news that we had, the non-farm payroll, the positive US dollar data that we have from the non-farm payroll on Friday, I think the bulls are still going to continue pushing these markets to the upside, okay, because the dollar is probably going to be strengthening across the board. All right, but again, what I'm expecting is probably the markets to give us a little pullback before we get that expansion to the upside. All right, now that is it really from the weekly time frame. Not much. This candle is looking more like a what I call it, a doji. I don't even know what to call this candle. Okay, all right, but you get the idea. Not much of an action. Okay, but all in all, I'm expecting the bulls to be in these markets next week. Maybe a little sellout initially and then before the expansion to the upside. Okay, now taking a look at the daily time frame, you notice that we did get this pin bar and then a sellout on Thursday, and price just that sellout was just enough to push price into this particular demand zone that we have in this area. And you notice that on Friday with the positive dollar news, non-farm payroll, you see that the bulls came into these markets and are now pushing these markets to the upside. Well, like I told you guys, well, we are looking generally bullish. However, you can see that we do have a 4-hour supply zone in here, which we are going to now see when we zoom into the 4 hours time frame. Okay, so if we go into the 4 hours time frame, what do we see here? Well, you see this 4-hour supply zone that led to the break of this level of structure right here to the downside. Okay, so well, what I'm thinking is going to happen as we go into next week is most likely maybe this market might give us a push into this 4-hour supply zone, and then from there I will expect the BS to come into this market, flex their muscle maybe towards let's say 103.50 area area, towards this origin, and then maybe anywhere from right around here, I will expect the bulls to come back into this market and start pushing this market again to the upside. This is going to be my preferred course of action. Again, it's very easy. The markets can easily open and just continue pushing to the upside, and well, if that happens, we just continue to search for demand zones that form on the smaller time frame and trade off of those. Okay, but based on the price action that I'm seeing here, we do have this significant supply zone area, and I expect that price is going to probably tap into it and then give us a push to the downside before we continue to the upside. All right, so remember, dollar is strengthening across the board, and we do have positive numbers coming out from the United States axis. All right, so that's pretty much it for Dixie. Next up is going to be US dollar Swiss francs. Now, US dollar Swiss francs, this one was quite tricky this particular week. All right, again, you can see we did have some bullish move, but slowly but surely you notice that we did get a significant rejection. Okay, if I zoom in, you see that we did get all the way to 0.9150 institutional price level area, and then from there you notice that we did get a very significant retracement, okay, towards 1987 area. All right, so the bears did come in from that area, and again, it's not surprising because you notice that we do have this significant level of structure right here, okay, and it was broken to the downside with this particular supply zone. All right, this is a supply zone, very large one indeed, but you notice that there are sellers in here, so don't be surprised if you're getting these huge reactions, okay, from the bears. But again, like I said, dollar is strengthening across the board, so chances are we're still going to probably push to the upside, maybe towards 9200 before I would expect any significant retracements from the bears. Okay, so let's see how that goes. Now, again, this supply zone is a very large one, so I'm not so keen on this particular supply zone, and I just wanted to point out maybe the reason why you're going to be seeing significant let's say rejections from the bears. Okay, all right, now if we take a look at the daily time frame, well, quite an ugly chart, to be honest with you. Okay, not much here. Yes, we do have this particular zone around here. Okay, we do have this zone around here, but not much has happened. So, well, my story is still the same, just like in the other. What I'm expecting is probably that this market is going to give us maybe a little push to the downside, and then maybe expansion again to the upside, maybe towards the 0.9200 institutional price level. This is kind of what I would like to see in US dollar Swiss francs. Now, if we take a look here, the reason why I don't really like this setup that much, to be completely honest with you, is well, if you pay attention, this was the demand zone, okay, that we have here in the 4 hours time frame. Okay, and what I was expecting is that, well, this demand zone is going to hold, and maybe the market is just going to probably dip into this demand zone and give us an expansion to the upside. This was what I anticipated, but you notice that we did break and close below this particular demand zone. Okay, so making this supply zone in here quite significant at this point. Okay, so, well, just like in the case of Dixie, it's very possible that price gives us that dip into this particular supply zone area, just right around that 9100 area, and then from there we might get a significant push to the downside. Okay, maybe to retest, maybe let's say 0.9070 area, or even deeper towards 0.9050 before the bulls come into this market to start pushing the markets again to the upside. Okay, this is the possibility that I'm seeing in US dollar Swiss francs. Okay, but let's see how it goes. Like I said, this market can easily give us a continuation to the upside, even breaking these highs, and if that happens, well, we start zooming into the smaller time frames to continue searching for long opportunities off of demand zones that present themselves. Now, that's it for US dollar Swiss francs. Next up is going to be Euro US dollar. Now, Euro US dollar, if we take a look at the weekly time frame, well, not much. Again, another bearish week, but not much of a sell. I mean, this is what do you call this? Is the spinning top? I don't even know what they call these candles. But all in all, markets closed pretty much around the same area where it opened. So not much of a significant impact by either the bulls or the bears. All right, not much from an information perspective. So I'm not really gonna waste time on this particular time frame. Let's take a look at the daily. Now, in the daily time frame, well, if you guys remember from last weekend, I did expect that we are going to get a push to the upside before the bears come into these markets, and that happened. However, this bullish candle this is quite a bullish candle in my own opinion, all right? And you will see the reason why I say that when we zoom into the 4 hours time frame, okay? But you know, it's as if maybe the market is tapping into something in this particular area. You notice it seems as if we do have a gap right around this area, okay? And maybe that's why we're getting this huge reaction. Who knows? But you know, I don't really like that bullish move, and this is the reason why I say so. If you pay attention in this particular chart, you see that in this area of the chart, we had very nice swinging patterns, okay? Very nice swinging patterns up until this point, okay? We did have this particular supply zone in here. All right, this was the supply zone that led to the break of this level of structure. So, well, again, just like in the case of US dollar Swiss francs, I expected this to hold for price to continue pushing to the downside, okay? However, you see that we had a massive break to the upside, even grabbing liquidity above these highs. And from here now, you can see that the market is dropping. Now, yes, we are dropping, but again, it is not very clean in my own opinion. Yes, this pullback was just to pull back into this particular area and to start turning around, but it is not clean anymore for me from a price action perspective. And very easily we do have this particular demand zone in here that obviously led to the break of this level of structure that we have in this area. So very easily what I think will probably pan out next week is price pulling into this particular demand zone area, and then from here we might get another expansion to the upside, maybe not taking off this high, but just enough maybe to test this area. And then from here I think the bears are now going to come into these markets again to continue pushing the markets to the downside. All right, so this is going to be my preferred course of action in this particular currency pair as we go into next week. Okay, so let's see how this goes. But this is again, like I said, anything can happen, but well, the fact that we took off the supply zone kind of messed things up a little bit. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there. But this is what I think, this is what I would prefer to see in this particular currency pair as we go into next week. Remember, all this analysis can easily be negated at market open, so take it with a pinch of salt. Now, that's it for Euro US dollar. Next up is going to be Australian dollar US dollar. Now, this one is looking nice. If you guys remember from last week, I told you guys that keep an eye on this particular daily supply zone. Okay, we do have this range. I told you guys that I don't expect the base of this range to hold because we really don't have any supply zones in the smaller time frames, you know, in this particular area. Okay, and I told you guys that I would expect to see the bulls push the markets into this particular supply zone that led to the break of this level of structure. And you can see that where price gave us that dip into that particular supply zone, and well, you can see we are getting that rejection right now. And well, who knows? Remember, next week, I think is it on Tuesday, we do have interest rate decisions coming up from the Australian axis, so be very careful as you trade this particular pair. But from a technical perspective, this market is looking bearish. Okay, we are looking super bearish on this particular one. All right, so who knows? Let's see how it goes. But I just wanted to point out that very careful. On Tuesday we do have significant fundamentals that can easily, you know, swing this market in any direction. All right, so let's see how that goes. Again, we are bearish until we begin to get, let's say, candles closing above this particular daily supply zone. All right, so let's see how that goes. Okay, so that's it for Australian dollar US dollar. There's really no need zooming into the smaller time frame. We do have this particular level in here, you know, this demand zone that formed. You can see the markets took a little hesitation as we retested the base of that range, but then we got that expansion to the upside into the daily supply zone. So well, personally, the kind of price action I would like to see in this pair right now is going to be maybe something like maybe price giving us a push to the downside into this particular area, and then maybe a little push, but you know, to the upside from where I will expect the BS to now coming in momentum to the downside. All right, so that's it for Australian dollar US dollar. Next up is going to be New Zealand dollar US dollar. Well, I'm not gonna waste your time here, guys. This pair I know is looking more bearish than bullish. However, from a technical perspective, I'm not really seeing much, to be completely honest with you. There are more interesting pairs to trade at the moment. Yes, market is retesting these lows that we have around this area, okay, as you can see. So yes, it's looking bearish. We do have quite similar price action to what we have in Australian dollar US dollar. You can see we do have this range in this area. So this was a range. Markets broke the range, pulled back to retest the base of the range, and now, well, you can see that we are now actually on Friday we closed this particular currency pair pin bar. Okay, this market's closed the pin bar, so very possible we are headed to the downside from what I can see right now. Maybe a little pullback to the upside, and then from here I would expect the BS to also come into this market for further continuations to the downside. Right, so that's pretty much what I can see here in New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Now next up is going to be US dollar, Canadian dollar. Again, remember we do have OPEC meetings on Sunday, so take any analysis that I give here with a pinch of salt. But if you zoom into the daily, obviously you can see that we do have this very nice flag formation in US dollar, Canadian dollar. And again, we're also expecting the dollar to strengthen, but at the same time I'm also expecting the Canadian dollar to strengthen. So what I'm thinking is this one is probably going to stay ranging, okay, or maybe not necessarily trending heavily in any particular direction. Thus, that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Maybe a little edge to the upside because of the positive dollar news that we have. But again, since the Canadian dollar is going to also be strengthening from my expectation this week, I think this one is not going to be the best currency pair to have your money in as we go into next week. Who knows? Only time will tell. Okay, but again, maybe a little range in markets right now. Price is tapping into this particular candle that we have in this area, this buying origin. So maybe a little push to the downside, and then maybe before the bulls come in next week. Okay, that's kind of what I see. But right now we are still inside this particular flag formation in the daily time frame or weekly time frame, whatever time frame you want to call it. Okay, all right. I'm not gonna waste your time here. Not much from a technical perspective, other than the fact that we are inside this particular triangle. All right, so that's it for US dollar, Canadian dollar. Next up is going to be British pound, some US dollar. Now, British pound, US dollar, very sweet currency pair. If you guys remember, I told you guys that I would like to see some form of a deeper pullback for a possible potential grab of liquidity above this particular level that we have in this area. Okay, we had this supply zone, and I told you guys I would like to see the markets pull back to come and test those supply zones that led to the break of these levels of structure that we have in this area. Well, you can see that technicals kind of aligned with fundamentals this time around, because we do have this trend line. Okay, you can see this trend line that we have here on the daily charts. Price pretty much just broke that trend line and gave us a full swing pullback to retest that trend line from below. All right, which also coincides with this particular area of structure that we have on our charts, as you can see in this particular currency pair. And then also on Friday we do have very positive numbers coming out. Yes, I mean the unemployment rate is higher, but non-farm payroll, in my opinion, is the stronger news that came out on Friday. Okay, so non-farm payrolls are looking positive for the dollar, and you can see that is the reason that from right around here, after the release of that news, this currency pair just pretty much melted to the downside. Okay, so well, that's obviously something to keep an eye on. I believe that we are probably going to be bearish in this particular pair for a little bit, and from what I'm seeing in this particular currency pair at the moment. Okay, all right. So if we go into the 4 hours time frame, what do we have here? Well, we do have a demand zone right here that led to the break of this level of structure. Obviously, all these levels of structure to the upside, and well, what I think is going to happen right now is maybe upon markets open, maybe the bears come into this market, push this market a little bit to the downside, maybe 124.25 area, and then from there I would expect the bulls to come into this markets to push these markets to the upside, maybe towards, let's say, 125.00, 125.25, anywhere from right around there. That's where I would expect the bears to start coming in again, to continue pushing these markets to the downside. So personally, you can already tell what I'm seeing here. Maybe dollar crosses pushing to the upside, maybe failing to make a new high, and then from there the bears coming into these markets for further continuations to the downside. That's going to be my preferred course of action, but again, we have to adjust with what the market is presenting us with from a technical perspective as we go into next week. Okay, but at this point, this is the kind of price action that I would like to see in British pounds, US dollar. Okay, looking like a high quality setup in my own opinion. All right, so that's it for GU. Next up is going to be US dollar, Japanese yen. Well, this pair just continues to wax strongly to the upside. Okay, I mean, what do you expect? Technicals are lining up with fundamentals. We have clearly broken this level of resistance. Okay, this level of structure to the upside, and well, we do have this particular demand zone area right around here, this area here, and you can see the markets just dipped positive dollar news, boom, to the upside. Okay, so technicals are aligning with fundamentals, and well, what I think what I would like to see right now is for these markets, maybe upon markets open, to give me a push to the downside, and then from there I will expect a bullish expansion for further continuation to the upside. Okay, now if we go into the 4 hours time frame, you notice again we do have this particular retracement trend line. This area here, we probably have a demand zone in here in the smaller time frame. You can see that area. Let me say something of this nature is what I would like to see next week. Maybe this market opens, gives us a push to the downside into this particular area, and then from right around here I will expect the bulls to start coming into these markets for further continuations to the upside. All right, this is the price action that I would prefer to see in US dollar Japanese yen as we go into next week. All right, so next up is going to be euro pounds. Okay, now euro pounds, as you can see here, very nice setup. If you guys remember, I told you guys I'm expecting these markets to continue bearish. We did break out from this particular range. Markets hesitated for a little bit, and you can see that right now we're beginning to get the markets to flush to the downside. You know, looking very nice in my own opinion. Now if we go into the daily time frame, obviously we do have a supply zone in here, okay, right around this area that led to the break of this level of structure that we have in this area. All right, but I think right now, before the market gets to that supply zone, we have to battle with the supply zone that we have in the 4 hours time frame, which is the one I'm more interested in at the moment. As you can see here, we did get this little hesitation, and then finally a massive momentum push to the downside. Okay, very decisive movement by the bears, and in my own opinion, what I'm looking for right now is just for price to give me that pullback towards this particular supply zone in the 4 hours time frame, which I believe right now is a high quality setup, and from where I will expect the bears to come into this markets again for further continuations to the downside. Okay, this is looking like a nice setup, and I'm going to be all over these charts whenever this alert goes off next week. Okay, all right, so that's it for euro pounds. Next up is going to be Canadian dollar Japanese yen. Now this is one of my favorite pairs going into next week, and that's because I expect you know, a very nice push in this particular currency pair as we go into next week. Okay, very nice technicals. Everything is really looking nice. Okay, very nice uptrend as well. Okay, but what do I have here? Obviously a very key level of a resistance right around 103.50 institutional price level. You can see resistance, and then finally we get a very nice push to the upside in momentum. Okay, clearly breaking that level, and well, we have this demand zone formed in the process. So well, what I'm looking for next week obviously is for price to give me a push towards this particular demand zone anywhere right around here, guys. You know, I'll be looking for an opportunity to go long for further continuations to the upside. Okay, again, like I said, this is one of my favorite plays for next week. Now let's see how it goes. If we do get that pullback, fine. If not, well, we are going to readjust based on the price action that we're seeing develop. All right, so that's it for Canadian dollar Japanese yen. Next up is going to be British pounds and Swiss francs. Now for British pounds and Swiss francs, again, very nice setup. You can see we did have this particular area of structure, okay, this level of structure on our charts right around this area. Okay, you can see resistance, and then finally markets hesitate a little bit, and then boom to the upside. Okay, so well, I'm keeping an eye on this. Let's say right around that 1.1270 level, anywhere from right around there, I will expect the bulls to come into these markets and, you know, start flexing their muscles for further continuations to the upside. Again, another high quality setup that I'm keeping an eye on as we go into next week. All right, so that's it for British pounds and Swiss francs. Next up is going to be New Zealand dollar Canadian dollar. Again, one of my favorite plays going into next week. Okay, New Zealand dollar continues to weaken across the board, and well, as you can see here, this market has just been plummeting, all right, to the downside. Now we also expecting Canadian dollar to strengthen as we go into next week. So a weak New Zealand dollar and a strengthening Canadian dollar, guys, means a bearish or super bearish New Zealand dollar Canadian dollar. All right, so and again, remember, all of this is pending the outcome of the news we have coming from the OPEC meetings, okay, on Sunday. So take this analysis with a pinch of salt. Now let's see. This particular pair has been trading inside a particular channel. You can see this channel that we have on the daily charts, but then for the first time, the market has now broken below that particular channel. We've got the pullback, and you can see we are continuing to the downside, making new lows. So right now, the bears are obviously in control in this particular markets. If you zoom into this particular time frame, you notice that, well, in the 4 hours time frame, we do have a very nice push to the downside, breaking this level of structure, okay, that we have. Just look at the close. market pretty much closed at the low of the week. Okay, so that means that we do have a very nice supply zone in here in the 4 hours time frame. So I'm keeping an eye on these charts. What I would love to see next week is for markets to give me a push to the upside, into this particular 4 hour supply zone, right around, let's say, 0.8180 area. Anywhere from right around here, guys, I'll be all over these charts. I'm looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. Okay, this one is really looking nice, because if I zoom out, let me go into daily time frame. I think you see that we have enough room. Okay, this is enough real estate to the downside for these markets to really run. Okay, so this is going to be a setup I'm going to like to take as we go into next week. Okay, in my own opinion, it is worth the risk. All right, so let's see. That's it for New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. Next up is going to be Euro Canadian dollar. You can see a very nice setup again. Like I said, look at the meltdown in this particular pair. Markets forming lower highs and lower lows, which is indicative of a downtrend. Without wasting your time, guys, what I'm expecting in this particular pair, push into this particular supply zone that we have in the 4 hours time frame, anywhere from right around 144.50, 144.60 area. I'll be looking for an opportunity to go short for further continuations to the downside. And again, like in the other case, you see all real estate that we have to the downside. Okay, a lot of space for these markets to run to the downside. Okay, so let's see how this goes as we go into next week. So the last but not the least is going to be I think gold. Let me see, where are we? Yep, so gold is the last one, and again we nailed gold again this week, even though I don't trade gold. But you can see the analysis was spot on. I told you guys I'm expecting the markets to push to the upside towards this particular area, and then from there I will expect the bears to come into these markets. Okay, markets just tapped into that mother candle that we have, or let me say the origin candle that we have on the daily time frame, and you can see, let me see on the weekly time frame. I think, one second. Yes, it's on the weekly time frame. So it's this candle. Markets just pretty much tapped into that particular candle, and you can see the rejection that we got from the bears. All right, so that tells you there are still sellers in this particular market, and I expect these markets to continue to the downside. All right, so if I take this out of the way, just so that everything will be clean. If we go back into the, let's say, the daily time frame again, bearish structure is still maintained, and right now we have a level of structure to keep an eye on in this particular chart. So from what I can see right now, obviously it is important to see this level give way first, and if this level of structure gives way to the downside, we'll have supply zones that form in the smaller time frames, and then from there I will expect the bears to start coming into these markets for further continuations to the downside till we get into this weekly demand zone area, from where the markets will need to make a decision. Right now, if we go into the 4 hours time frame, not much. Again, like I said, my interest right now in gold is going to be, let's see if we do get that significant momentum break below this particular level of structure. And if we do, just follow the markets, wait for the supply zones that we form, and then trade off of them accordingly. All right, so that's pretty much it for this week's Forex forecast. Hopefully you gained some value from this particular video, guys, and if you did, please do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and click on that notification bell so that you always get updates whenever I post a video. Cheers, and see you next week.